My name is Allison Wyckoff, and I'm the Associate Director of Public and Community Programs. And on behalf of the Asian Art Museum, I would like to welcome you to today's virtual program and thank you for your support. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge that the Asian Art Museum sits on the San Francisco Peninsula and is located within the unceded territories of the Ohlone peoples, Ramaytush, and the coastal Miwok. We remember that their continued connection to this region and give thanks to them as we live, work, and learn on their traditional homeland. We offer our respect to their elders and to all Indigenous peoples, past and present. Asian communities in the United States and around the world are being targeted with hate and blamed for the outbreak and spread of COVID-19. Unfortunately, the scapegoating of minority communities in times of crisis has a long and ugly history. The Asian Art Museum condemns racism and xenophobia in all its forms. We are committed to making the museum a welcome space for all and creating programming that fights xenophobia, prejudice, and discrimination. Today, we stand with residents of San Francisco and Oakland's Chinatowns, especially our elders who have been targeted with violence. A recording of this program will be on our YouTube page in a few days. I'll put a link in the chat box, but please be sure to check out the museum's Lunar New Year packet with art activities, videos of storytelling programs, links to choice pieces in our collection, and other resources. Dan Zigmond is a Zen teacher living in Menlo Park. He's taught at the San Francisco Zen Center, Jikoji Zen Center, and other temples in the Bay Area and beyond. He's also a data scientist who has worked at several local tech companies, including Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Google. He recently published a book on mindfulness, meditation, and work called Buddha's Office, The Ancient Art of Waking Up While Working Well. So it's my pleasure to introduce Dan this morning and thank you for leading today's practice. Dan, if you would unmute yourself, please.
Apologies. Thank you so much, Allison. It's wonderful to be here, and thank you so much, all of you, for joining us this morning. I know, of course, there's a lot going on in the world, a lot going on here in this country, but it's so nice to be able to take a few minutes to pause and be still together, and I'm hoping that that's what we can do today. And it's a great pleasure to do this together with the Asian Art Museum, such a wonderful institution in San Francisco with such an amazing collection of Buddhist artifacts, including many of the ones you can see behind me. This is an image of one of the galleries where we used to do these meditations in person. So we're going to be sitting. We'll do two brief meditations, and after that, I'll take questions. But I thought I would start by just saying a little bit about why and how we came to be doing this. So this tradition of meditation, there are many meditation traditions in the world, but this tradition of meditation begins with Buddha, who lived in what is now northern India, somewhere around 400 BCE. He was brought up as a pampered prince, lived in a royal palace, and had every imaginable luxury. But at some point, like many of us who have also lived perhaps lives of privilege, he started to feel that there had to be something more, that there must be more to life than just enjoyment and sort of the frivolous pleasure. And so he bribed one of the servants to sneak him out of the palace so that he could see the world beyond those walls. And it said that he saw three sights. He saw someone who was sick. He saw someone who was very old. And he saw a funeral procession carrying someone who had passed away. And confronted with those three realities of sickness, old age, and death, he became even more convinced that there had to be more to life than just fun and games. and he vowed to try to understand the roots of human suffering. And then he saw the fourth sight, which was a wandering uh, holy man, as actually you still see in India today. And so he decided that was the life for him, and got back to the palace, uh, cut off his hair, and snuck away uh, to dedicate himself to spiritual seeking. And he tried all kinds of practices, um, some quite difficult. He tried what we would now call yoga. He tried extreme fasting. He tried even holding his breath for minutes at a time, trying to figure out if some of these would lead him to understand the real secret of overcoming suffering. And none of it worked. And in fact, because he was trying such extreme practices, he became quite weak, quite sick, and at some point was near death. And it's said that a young girl walked by and saw him really on the verge of death, and gave him some milk that she had collected. And that revived him enough that he decided these crazy austerities weren't getting him anywhere. And what he would try instead was meditation. And he found a tree, what we now call the Bodhi tree, and vowed to just sit in meditation under that tree until he had some realization. And it said that he sat all night and into the morning. And at the first light of the morning star, he had his awakening. And he realized that the way to live a happy and fulfilled life was not endlessly chasing pleasure as he did as a prince, but also not endlessly sort of torturing himself as he had been doing as a wandering holy man, but to find that path in the middle, to find that middle way. And that the way to find that middle path was through meditation. And so ever since then, we've continued this teaching of meditation as our way of finding that balance, finding that still place between the extremes that even today society so often seems to call us to, either focusing entirely on kind of selfish desires, or the other extreme, giving ourselves up entirely to hardship and extreme practices. That the trick is really to find that balance. And by sitting still and letting the mind settle, we can find it. So the practice we'll do today is very similar to that practice that Buddha followed. Most of us are probably sitting in chairs because we're sitting in front of a screen, and that's fine. If you're sitting in a chair, I recommend you try to sit as upright as you can, with your back straight, your shoulders back, your head maybe slightly tilted downward. If you're sitting on the floor, you can take the traditional posture, which actually you see the Buddha sitting in over my shoulder there, cross-legged. But the most important thing is that you find a posture that's comfortable, but where you feel upright, supported, and awake. Traditionally, we'd place our hands one over the other with our thumbs touching. See if you can see that. And sit them in our lap. Again, you can see the Buddha with roughly that posture there. But if that feels awkward to you, you're welcome to put your hands just flat on your thighs, even on your knees, but somewhere away from devices and distractions, and somewhere where they won't cause you to slump over one way or the other. Traditionally in Zen practice, we sit with our eyes sort of half opened, again, finding that middle way between eyes open and eyes shut. Some people find that difficult with a screen in front of them, so you're welcome to close your eyes if you prefer. But if you'd like to sit in the traditional way, you can just sort of cast your gaze down roughly like a 45-degree angle, looking at the floor or desk in front of you, and that will naturally cause your lids to close about halfway. I have a bell here. I'll ring the bell 3 times for us to start. When you hear the sound of the bell, just listen to the bell. Listen to it until you can't hear it any longer. And then bring your attention to your breath, trying to give your full attention to each in-breath and each out-breath. Traditionally in Zen, our sittings would be entirely silent, but I'll give a little instruction as we go for those of you who haven't sat before, although I'll try not to talk too much. So with that, find that comfortable position. Cast your eyes down or close them if you prefer. And we'll begin. Now bring your full attention to your breathing. You don't need to control your breathing in any way. There's no need to match your breath to mine or to any fixed idea of how breathing should be. Just notice each breath exactly as it is. Giving your full attention to each in-breath and each out-breath. Each in-breath and each out-breath. In-breath, out-breath. If thoughts arise while you're sitting and breathing, let them arise, and then let them go. Notice these thoughts without holding on to them, without grasping at them. Don't beat yourself up for getting distracted. Just notice the thoughts and let them be a reminder to bring your attention back to the next in-breath and the next out-breath. In-breath, out-breath. In-breath, out-breath. In a moment, I'll ring the bell to end this first session. I'll ring it just once. When you hear the sound of the bell, again, listen to the bell. Listen to it until you can't hear it any longer. Then take one more in-breath, one more out-breath, and we'll be done. One more in-breath, one more out-breath. And open your eyes. Well, if you hadn't meditated before, you've now done your first period of meditation. That was about 10 minutes. I find that if you want to continue meditating at home, the 10 minutes is often a good length of time for people who are just getting started. That it's long enough that you can actually develop a deep practice, a real stillness, but also short enough that you don't necessarily need to adjust your schedule too much, put it in your calendar. Most of us can squeeze 10 minutes in at some point during the day without too much work. And maybe it's just psychological, but I find for many of us, once it gets to something that's 20 minutes or 30 minutes, then it really becomes something we have to schedule and gets a little more difficult. I like to sit first thing in the morning before I've really done anything else, because then my mind is just not quite as filled with all the chatter of the day. I'm not thinking yet about all the things I need to do at work or things I need to buy at the grocery store or anything else I need to do around the house or for myself. That if I pretty much go straight after I wake up to sitting, it's just a little easier to focus without all those other thoughts creeping in too much. So you may want to sort of stretch your arms, stretch your back. As I said, we'll sit one more time. For the second sitting, we'll do 15 minutes, just so you have a experience of a little bit longer period. And again, I'll try to provide both some guidance along the way, but also some silence so that you can appreciate both. If you're not used to sitting like this, you may want to stand for a moment. We'll take about one more minute of break. People sometimes ask why we sit upright instead of something more comfortable, leaning back, even laying down. And I think, the answer is that we want to feel fully supported. It shouldn't take too much effort. But on the other hand, if we are completely relaxed, it's easy to fall into daydreaming or even to fall asleep. And so that little bit of effort it takes to remain upright, I think, helps keep us a little bit alert. So with that, find your posture again. If you're sitting in a chair, it's usually best to have your feet flat on the floor. Again, your back straight, your shoulders back. Your head just slightly tilted. Your hands in your lap, on your thighs, your knees, somewhere away from distractions. And your gaze cast down or your eyes closed. And once again, I'll ring the bell 3 times for us to start. That's the Zen Buddhist tradition. And then one more time at the very end. And again, now bring your full attention to your breathing, noticing your breathing without trying to control it, without trying to change it. Just noticing exactly as it is right now, giving your full attention to each in-breath and each out-breath. Each in-breath and each out-breath. In-breath, out-breath. It often helps to focus the mind if we narrate our breathing. And so, with each in-breath, you can say to yourself, I am breathing in. And with each out-breath, say to yourself, I am breathing out. I am breathing in. I am breathing out. I am breathing in. I am breathing out. Notice the unique qualities of every breath. Notice the pause, the stillness between each breath. Notice whether each breath is long or short. Notice whether each breath is fast or slow. Notice these qualities without evaluating them, without judging them, without judging yourself. Don't think to yourself, long is better than short. Don't think to yourself, fast is worse than slow. Just notice each breath exactly as it is, giving your full attention to each in-breath and each out-breath. In-breath, out-breath. Whatever else is happening in the world, in your life. Nothing is more important right now than giving your full attention to this moment of sitting and breathing. Because if you can give your full attention to this moment, you can give your full attention to the next moment, and the moment after that, and to every moment after that. And giving your full attention to every moment is what it means to be fully awake and fully alive. When you hear me ring the bell again, listen to the bell. Listen to it until you can't hear it any longer. And then take one last in-breath, one last out-breath, and open your eyes. One more in-breath, one more out-breath, and open your eyes. Well, thank you all so much for sitting with me again. I hope you found some calm and some stillness in our time together.
Dan, there's one question in the chat. Do you set a timer for the 10 minutes, and do you ever play music while meditating?
I always set a timer. So I find if I don't set a timer, if I just use my watch or use a clock, then I'm spending the whole time sort of wanting to check the clock, wondering if it's time to be done, wanting to look at my watch. And that creates a lot of sort of mental distraction for me. If I set a timer, then I know I can just sit, not worry about it, and after 10 minutes, the timer will go off. And you can use anything. I mean, you can literally use a kitchen timer. You can use the ordinary timer on your phone. I tend to use what's called Insight Timer, which is a free app you can get for your phone just because it has a nice bell, a little bit like the bell that I use to end the session, which is I find nicer than the normal beep of a timer. But you can use anything. I don't use music. I find just focusing on my breath, sometimes focusing on the sounds around me. I think when you really listen to all the sounds that you can hear, so right now I can hear a bit of traffic outside my window. I can hear my wife in the next room. I sometimes will hear a dog or some children walking by. That sort of natural sound almost creates its own music, and that I just prefer to focus on whatever is just naturally present here and now. We have about 15 minutes for more questions, and so please put any questions you might have in the chat, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about our practice here today, or anything about meditation and mindfulness. I really appreciate all the New Year's greetings in the chat. Thank you so much, and I hope you're all enjoying the Lunar New Year as well.
So, oh, there we go. There's another question. Can you recommend any Zen meditation centers near Fremont?
Let's see. Well, so one thing, the one effect of this pandemic is almost all Zen meditation is online these days, for better or worse. Um, and so I know the San Francisco Zen Center, the Berkeley Zen Center, Kojin An, the Oakland Zen Center, all have online meditations happening. The Zen Center where I teach most, Jikoji Zen Center, which is in the Santa Cruz Mountains, also has online sittings. So it's very easy to join an online meditation. In terms of Zen centers, once we can practice in person again, which I think we all hope will happen this year, I guess the Berkeley Zen Center is the closest one I know to Fremont, and is very lovely. Was founded by a disciple of Shunryu Suzuki Roshi, the famous Zen master who wrote Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. And then the Oakland Zen Center is, I guess, also quite close, with Reverend Akiba Roshi, who's also wonderful. I see a question about the best time to practice. So as I think I mentioned, I find first thing in the morning, sort of before I've kind of entered into the hectic sort of stream of the day. I find once, if I sit down and start reading emails or start doing work or even start housework, that it's easy to get caught up in that and sort of never come out of it to start meditating. So I find if I really do it first thing in the morning, that's best for me. Other people find the last thing before going to bed. I should say traditionally in a Zen monastery, you would do both. The first thing you would do is meditate, and then whatever you did during the day, the last thing you would do is also meditate. And so that's another time that sometimes people find instead of watching a show or reading a book, to meditate for 10, 15, 20 minutes before bed. Some people find that very relaxing. Yeah, it's a little non-intuitive. I find meditating in the morning actually wakes me up. We sometimes think about meditation as relaxation. I think that's not exactly right, because we are focusing our attention. I think it can help sort of bring us awake. And so for some people that makes meditating last thing at night a little difficult, but for others, just that level of stillness does help them kind of end the day. So I would say either one is fine. I think there was a question. Sorry, I have to scroll a little bit about.
So Dan, I'll read it to you. So when is the best and easy time for a beginner to start this practice?
Oh, well, so I talked a little bit about time of day, but I think just start. The most important thing is just to get started. People will often ask me, like, how long do I need to sit? I often advise people to start with even just 5 minutes. I think there's no amount of time that's too short, and there's no amount of time that's too long. So I would say just make the commitment. The most important thing is to find time to sit every day. And so whatever time of day, whatever length of time allows you to do that is the right answer.
Okay, so let's see. Can you say a mantra as a way of narrating and getting your mind to focus on the present?
Well, so there are many schools of meditation that do work with mantras. In Zen, we typically don't. We uh, you know, focus on our breath, try to focus on just bringing our full attention to the present moment without a mantra. Um, I but there are many schools of meditation, some of which use mantras, and even some schools of Zen that make use of koans, which are kind of traditional questions between Zen masters and their students that have a little bit the flavor of mantras. Um, so I think you can certainly welcome to try many varieties of meditation, but in Zen we tend to try to focus just really on the present moment rather than on a piece of text.
I have a question. So in the Q&A, if you're suffering a great loss, what else can you do to stay focused?
First, I'm very sorry to whoever is suffering a loss right now, and of course this is a very difficult time where many of us are suffering losses, uh, and so I am sorry. Um, I think the, our practice is just to be present with whatever we're feeling right now. Um, and so if you're feeling that loss, if that's what's present for you right now, then allow that to be present for you right now. Um, meditation is not about pushing anything away or shutting anything down. It's really just to be aware of what's happening. And so, as I said in our first session, whatever thoughts are arising, we let them arise. And those may be thoughts of, they may be trivial thoughts of, what do I need to do later today? But they may be deep thoughts about loss and suffering. Um, and so I would say, you can sit with that loss and allow yourself to experience it and notice that experience. And that can be a very deep meditation.
So what is the best means to go deeper, faster with meditation?
I think like so many things in life, there are not really shortcuts. Um, and so it's just a matter of sticking with it. Um, I think I think of it a little bit like, if you've ever tried to learn to run or some other kind of sport, at first you can't run very far without getting tired or out of breath. Uh, and the next time you probably don't notice very much difference, and the next time you don't notice very much difference. But somehow, after doing it for a few months, a few years, you're running miles. Uh, and so something has changed, even though at any given moment it's hard to say what that is. And so again, I would say the most important thing is to find a practice you can stick with and to continue the meditation. Um, when we're able to do things in person again, many people do find it helpful to do a retreat, to do an intensive period where you just focus on the meditation for a day, a 1 day retreat, or for a weekend, or people do a week or even 10 days. Um, but again, that's not really a shortcut. That's just doing a lot of meditation in a short amount of time. I think in the end, it's just something we have to stick with and do. And I think you'll find that you do find that stillness.
So someone says, I'm starting off with meditation and I don't really feel much. Over time, what sort of manifestations have you experienced as you continue through the meditation journey?
So it's very normal not to feel any big explosion, any big change the first time you meditate. Some people do, they have some experience of real calm, um, but others don't, and I think that's okay too. Um, Over time, I guess I personally have found a few things. One is the meditation itself just becomes more natural. Again, like anything else, it is really something you practice, and by practicing, it comes more naturally. Um, and then people who have done research on this, there have been now many studies at universities and hospitals, find that it really does affect your attention, that our attention is a muscle in a sense, like any other. And you can strengthen that muscle by exercising it in meditation. And then just like, you can go to the gym and you can work out and exercise your muscles, and then you can use those muscles for other things, like just uh, lifting a bag of flour at the grocery store or something like that. That attention muscle that you've strengthened is there to use in other contexts where you need to pay attention. Um, and so you may find it easier to focus, and you may find yourself getting less distracted by everyday things.
Can you say anything about meditating before bed?
Uh, I talked a little bit about that. It is traditional. It's one of the traditional times that you would meditate at any Zen temple, first thing in the morning and last thing at night. Um, and when I am staying at a temple for a retreat or for some other reason, I enjoy doing that, and it can be a nice way to end the day. Um, I sometimes find it's harder to sort of wind down my mind at the end of the day, that it's just so filled with all the things I've been doing that day that it's a little more difficult, more challenging for me to find that stillness than it is in the morning. But everybody is different, and some people find that to just be a lovely way to end their day.
Okay, and last question, is it possible to stand, lay down, and walk as well when you're meditating?
So people meditate in all those postures. It's walking meditation is almost always done at Zen centers in between periods of sitting. So in a traditional, let's say, meditation retreat, you would do a period of meditation, maybe half an hour, maybe 40 minutes. Then you would do 10 minutes of walking. Then you would do a period of sitting meditation, and you would alternate like that, sitting meditation and walking meditation throughout the day. Um, and other people do much longer walking meditations. The Vietnamese Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh has a whole book on walking meditation, um, and so that's something that's certainly quite common. Standing meditation is less usual, but people do it, particularly people who have issues with their back. Um, for many people, it's hard to stand still for a long period of time, but if you can, that is, there's nothing wrong with that. And then meditating lying down, again, for people that struggle to sit upright or have pain, uh, that's quite common. The difficult thing about meditating lying down is just it's very easy to get to start sort of daydreaming and fall asleep even. Um, so uh, I would, if you do it, what I usually recommend is like you sort of bend your knees so your back is flat, but then your knees or your legs are bent. That makes it a little bit easier, um, I find, to stay awake and stay focused. But again, I would say the most important thing by far is finding a meditation practice that works for you and that you can do every day, and then just to do it. And whatever posture and whatever length of time, whatever time of day makes that possible is the answer that's right for you.
Great. So, Dan, thank you so much. Here, I will start my video. Thank you so much for this lovely practice. I really liked your storytelling at the beginning and how you introduced today's session. Thank you everyone for joining us. We do have meditation every second Saturday at 10:30 in the morning. So please check the website for more information. You can register there. Thank you all for coming. Thank you again, Dan, and happy Lunar New Year to everyone.
Thank you so much. Goodbye, everybody.